Hello, it's great that you have tuned in again to our natural medicine format. Today I have another exciting guest with me, Dr. Heinz Lüscher, orthomolecular physician and practical doctor, and today it is about the topic of dementia and Alzheimer's. This is a very omnipresent topic in our society, and we want to see what we can do to make it possible for someone who is affected to make an improvement and to prevent it from happening.
Eine Verbesserung bereiten können und auch selbst am besten schon vorbeugen können, damit sowas überhaupt nicht eintritt.
Stay tuned, it's going to be exciting. See you in a moment. Hello dear Heinz, thank you very much for being here.
Hello Alexandra, I'm always happy to be here.
It is always very valuable to hear your insights and your practical experience and your important support recommendations for the complete physical body, no matter what level. It is also important to pass this on, because it is simply not communicated in classical medicine. That's why we meet. Today we are talking about Alzheimer's and dementia. It's such a horror. Each of us can be affected by it or be affected at some point. I am sure that everyone in the family is affected by it, one or maybe even several. It is actually always a sad fate, what we are witnessing. I had a great uncle in the family who was affected. Now the big question is, how does something like this arise? Alzheimer's, diseases, what are the causes?
Well, it's not just fate, let's put it that way. You can do a lot to not become demented. That's what we want to talk about now. I see two main causes. One is the lack of energy in the brain cells. The brain needs about 20% of the total energy that we build up or take with us through nutrition. The brain is very small, 1.5 kilograms, and needs 20% energy. If this energy is reduced or simply not enough can be produced, then the brain cells suffer more than all the other cells. That's one thing. The other thing is the so-called silent inflammation. These silent inflammations that occur in our body and are never noticed, which you don't feel, they play a big role. We know that the so-called glial cells in Alzheimer's, these are immune cells in the brain, not brain cells. They have different functions. They are massively increased in dementia. It has been believed for a long time that in demented brains there are amyloid plaques on the brain wavelengths or on the cells in the microscopic plane. It has been believed for a long time that this is the cause. But recently a study has proven that this is a consequence and not the cause. This goes back to the theory of silent inflammation. The inflammation causes these plaques to occur and are deposited on the cells. But it is the consequence. We have to look very carefully that we can control these silent inflammations in our body. In Switzerland there are 130,000 dementia patients. That's an incredible number. This is a cost factor. These people need around-the-clock care. And if this increases again, and this is to be feared, this is a financial political time bomb. I'm really worried about this. I don't think you can see this in politics. What costs society when we have more and more dementia patients?
Yes, and the trend speaks for itself.
Yes, it is increasing steadily. And the nursing homes, no one voluntarily goes to the nursing home anymore. And if you look, my mother was in the nursing home for a long time, and about a third or more of all residents are demented. So you actually only go to the nursing home when you are no longer able to cope on your own due to dementia.
And if I may put it this way, It won't get any better in the nursing home.
Wird's ja auch nicht besser, ne?
No.
Nein. Also, ja,
Es wird ja konkret
In this stage, if you are demented by the age of 85, you can't do anything anymore.
Da kann man nichts mehr machen.
It's too late.
also
So
grundsätzlich
basically not anymore?
Doch,
Yes,
man-
you
man
could,
könnte,
but there is
aber
no
es
interest.
besteht gar kein Interesse.
Once I was with a home manager who was really
Mit
open
einem
to what I
Heimarzt,
said.
der wirklich offen war für was ich gesagt habe, aber
We
er
used
diese
these products,
Produkte
which I recommend,
zusätzlich
and he
empfehlen
tried it with 2
und
patients,
er hat's
and
mit
both were
2
better, but they
Patienten
couldn't deal
versucht.
with it
Beiden
anymore.
ging es besser, aber die konnten damit nicht mehr umgehen.
And
Und
neither
die
could the
andere
relatives.
Hunde nicht.
What couldn't they deal with?
Excuse me?
Womit konnten sie nicht mehr
What
umgehen?
couldn't they deal with?
Dass es diese
That it was
Leute
better
besser
for these
ging.
people.
Oh nein.
Eine
Oh
Person
no.
wollte nach Hause.
One person wanted to
Das
go
natürlich nicht
home.
im Sinne des Heims.
Of course, that's not in the sense of the nursing home.
Äh,
I
ich
do
glaube
believe that
schon,
you
es
could
wird
get a lot
jeder
out of
empfohlen
it,
können,
but the whole
aber
society
eben,
would have to
da
take
müsste die
part.
ganze Gesellschaft mitmachen.
And no nursing home
Das
is
Heim
willing to let
bereit,
these
diese
people
Leute
go
wieder
again,
ziehen zu
because
lassen,
nursing
weil
homes
einfach
also have to get through the
müssen
rounds financially.
finanzpolitisch über die Runden kommen. Ne?
You mentioned earlier that important aspects are these silent inflammation in the body, which we don't notice. They can take place everywhere.
Ja,
Yes,
sind
they
nicht
are
nur
not only in the
Hirn,
brain,
sind ganz
they are in the whole
Körper.
body.
Aber das
But the
Gehirn
brain
nimmt
takes more
mehr
damage.
Schaden.
Ja.
If I don't know, if I have no suspicion, how can you track silent inflammation?
Wie kann man denn stillen Entzündungen auf die Spur kommen?
Also,
I can't prove it.
nachweisen kann ich die
I
praktisch
practically
nicht.
don't know.
Kein Laborwerk
I don't have a
oder so,
laboratory
das
that
ist eine
tells me that there is a
Stillentzündung.
silent
Wir
inflammation.
wissen einfach, dass es so
We
ist
just know
aus
that it is so.
aus den Forschungen,
From research, from
aus
pathology,
der
you can see
Pathologie,
it.
da kann man das sehen.
But I
Aber
just know that all people
ich
have it.
weiß einfach, alle Menschen haben das.
These silent
diese
inflammations are so
Inflammation, die
widespread.
sind so verbreitet. Und,
And maybe one more
vielleicht
word.
noch ein Wort,
The
die
emergence of dementia
Entstehung
takes
einer
30
Demenz
years.
dauert 30 Jahre.
You see,
Also
you
du
can have
siehst
these
diese
silent
stillen
inflammations for
Entzündungen, die
years
kannst du
without any
jahrelang haben,
consequence.
ohne irgendeine Konsequenz.
But
Aber
we
wir
have to
müssen
be
uns
aware,
bewusst
and that
sein,
is best
und
if
das
we
ist am
all say,
besten,
yes,
wenn
I
wir
probably
alle,
have it.
oder, uns sagen, ja, ich habe das wahrscheinlich.
I have to do
Etwas
something
dagegen
about it.
tun.
Und da
And you
kann
can
man
do
ja
something
Da
about
kann
it.
man, ja, das hat mit dem
Yes, you
Stoffwechsel
can.
zu tun, der bei uns
This has
überall
to do with the
übersäuert ist.
metabolism that is
Diese
over-acidified
chronische
everywhere.
Übersäuerung im Stoffwechsel,
This chronic
die führt
acidification
zu
in the
diesen
metabolism leads to these silent inflammations.
Dort müssen wir ansetzen.
We have to start there.
Okay.
Und vielleicht
And maybe in
dazu
medicine
noch,
we learned that
in
there
der
is no
Medizin haben wir
over-acidification.
gelernt, es gibt keine Übersäuerung.
Our
Unser
pH in the
pH
blood is
im
constant.
Blut ist konstant,
7.41, I
1,1.
think.
Also
So
wo
where is
ist
the
die-
acid?
wo ist die Säure?
It's
Ist ja
always
immer
the
gleich.
same. But this
Aber die
over-acidification does not
Übersäuerung
take place in the
findet
blood,
nicht im
but in the
Blut statt,
cells.
sondern in den Zellen.
I can't measure the
Den pH
pH there.
nicht messen.
Yes, right.
Also
A chronic
chronische
over-acidification due to
Übersäuerung durch
malnutrition is
falsche
not
Ernährung,
measurable.
die ist nicht messbar.
I only
sehe
see the
erst
late
die
effects of it.
späten Auswirkungen davon.
But we know
Aber wir
which foods
wissen,
are
welche
changed to acids
Nahrungsmittel
and which to
sauer
bases.
verstoffwechselt werden und welche basisch. Und
And
dort
that's
kann
where
man
you can
ansetzen.
start.
So it's not about
geht
looking
also
at where the
um,
problem is, but how you can get the organism to fight these silent inflammations on their own.
Grundsätzlich zu unterstützen, solche Silent Inflammations eben einfach selbst in Eigenregie zu
That's a
bekämpfen, ist ein
stupid
blöder
term,
Begriff, aber
but to
auszuräumen,
eliminate
Ja,
them,
vorzubeugen.
genau.
to
Also
prevent
auszuräumen,
them,
wenn sie da
to
sind,
eliminate them when they are there, and to
Und das
prevent
kann
them
man
from
über
developing.
die
And that can be
Mikronährstoffe
done with
tun.
micronutrients.
Ja,
Yes, but
aber
especially
klar
with a
mit
basic
einer
overall diet.
basischen Gesamternährung.
That's
Das
where
ist die
we have to
Methode,
start.
dort müssen wir ansetzen. Und
I'm
ich
not
gehe jetzt
saying
nicht
that it's
darauf ein, dass es
complicated.
kompliziert, welche
Which foods
Nahrungsmittel
are
sind
acidic
sauer,
and which
welche
are
sind basisch.
bases?
Ganz einfach.
Quite simply,
Zucker und
sugar and
tierische
animal protein
Eiweiße
are
sind
acidic and
sauer
plants are bases.
und Pflanzen sind basisch. Es
There
gibt
are
Ausnahmen,
exceptions,
ich
I
weiß,
know.
wenn jemand jetzt
If
das
someone
will.
criticizes me now,
Wenn man Detail
if you want to
wissen
know the
will, dann muss
details,
man in die
you have to go to the
Ernährungsberatung. Aber
nutritionist.
ganz grundsätzlich, wir
But in
haben zu
general,
viel
we have
Zucker
too
und wir
much
haben zu
sugar
viel
and too
tierische
much animal
Eiweiße, die wir
protein
zu
that we
uns
take
nehmen.
with us.
Und die sind
And they are
langfristig über
harmful for
Jahrzehnte
decades.
gesehen nebenschädlich.
Mhm. Also
Ultimately,
letztendlich
we
sind
are
wir
all in
alle
a way that we don't
in
actively do
gewissem Maße,
something.
die wir nicht aktiv etwas tun,
What the
was
support through food supplementation or supplementation of micronutrients, we are all without exception at risk that we develop silent inflammation in the body.
im Risiko, dass wir eben stille Entzündungen im
Ja.
Körper entwickeln und
And as a
die als
consequence,
Spätfolge,
after
das ist
30
nach
years,
30 Jahren
under
dann,
certain
unter
circumstances, or very
Umständen
likely cause Alzheimer's.
wahrscheinlich Alzheimer verursachen.
Ja.
Ja.
Ja,
Basically, every person should expect to get
jeder
Alzheimer's.
Mensch müsste damit rechnen, einmal Alzheimer zu bekommen.
But
Aber
not everyone
es
gets it.
bekommen trotzdem nicht alle.
There
Also
are
es gibt sicher
certainly
noch
genetic
genetische
factors that
Faktoren, die
support
das
this.
unterstützen.
But even then, it is only worthwhile
Auch
if you have
dann lohnt
negative
es sich
genes to
erst recht, wenn man
counteract them.
negative Gene hat, oder jetzt denen entgegenzuwirken.
We
Wir
are not
sind
delivered
unseren
to our
Genen
genes.
nicht ausgeliefert. Wir
We
haben
have an
eine
epigenetic.
Epigenetik und,
That
das
means on
heißt,
the genes there are many
auf
proteins,
den Genen drauf sitzen viele Proteine.
and we
Und
can
die
control them
können wir
via
steuern
nutrition
über die
and also
Ernährung
via
und auch
thoughts.
über die Gedanken. Das
Many
wissen
people
viele
don't know
nicht,
that.
oder? Also
How
wie
we
wir
think
denken,
plays a
spielt
big
eine
role
große
whether our
Rolle, ob
bad
unsere
genes have an effect
schlechten
or
Gene
whether
sie
we can turn
auswirken
them
oder
off.
ob wir sie abschalten können. Aber
But that's not the
sollte
topic
nicht das
today.
Thema.
Genau, richtig.
Right.
Alzheimer und Demenz ist
Alzheimer's and dementia
aber
is our
das
topic
hat
today.
natürlich auch was
But that has something to do with thinking. We can't completely exclude it. But that's something you also consider in your practice with your patients when they come.
Ja,
Yes, and the
das
brain
Hirn
is
ist
there to be
dazu da, um
used.
gebraucht zu werden.
Yes, exactly.
That's not the case with most people
Leuten
today.
heute nicht mehr der Fall. Das
The
Hirn
brain is switched off.
abgeschaltet, oder? Man
You watch TV.
schaut Fernsehen, man
You read
liest
some
irgendwelche
magazines.
Zeitschriften, oder?
Everything
Alles
unimportant
Mögliche
is in there.
Unwichtige steht da drin.
It
Es
is
ist
so
so
important to
wichtig,
challenge
unser
our
Gehirn
brain.
zu fordern. Das
That means
bedeutet,
I
ich
have
muss
to learn
etwas
something.
lernen, ich muss
I have
etwas
to read
lesen,
something.
ich muss
I have to
diskutieren,
discuss.
ich muss mich
I have to deal
auseinandersetzen
with
mit
our
unseren
topics.
Themen. Wenn ich das nicht
If
tue
I don't do that
und
and just watch
einfach
TV or just don't do anything with my brain,
nur
then I am
Fernsehen
extremely at risk for
also nichts
Alzheimer's.
mache mit meinem Gehirn, dann bin ich extrem gefährdet für Alzheimer.
There are other
Es gibt auch andere
factors.
Faktoren. Wir wissen,
We
dass
know,
zum Beispiel
for example, overweight
spielt
plays a
eine Rolle.
role.
Also Übergewichtige haben
Overweight people have
häufig
more
Alzheimer.
Alzheimer's.
Hoher Blutdruck spielt
High
eine
blood
Rolle.
pressure plays a role.
Arterienverkalkung
Atherosclerosis, of
natürlich
course,
auch
also
im
in the
Gehirn.
brain.
Und
Depression.
Depressionen. Also
Depressive people end up more often in dementia than non-depressive people.
Demenz als nicht depressive. Also
There
es
are other
gibt schon noch
diseases that
andere
probably also have to
Krankheiten,
do
die
with this silent inflammation.
wahrscheinlich eben auch mit dieser silent inflammation zu tun haben. Ja.
Yes, and these triggers or causes or conditions, whatever. I know that many older people like to do crossword puzzle or Sudoku or things like that. Is that something I can do for brain activity?
Yes, a little bit.
Ja, es gibt
There are
sicher
certainly
bessere,
better
aber
things,
es ist
but it is better than nothing.
immerhin, es ist besser als nichts.
So effectively, from your point of view, it would be something new to learn.
Neues zu lernen.
Music.
Musik.
Music is something so complex.
So etwas Komplexes. Ja?
I used to
Ich habe
play the
selbst früher
piano.
Klavier gespielt. Das ist
It's
wirklich
really complex.
oder?
Reading
Noten
notes.
lesen jetzt, verstehst du? Und jetzt
Where does the
wo muss
finger
der
have to
Finger
go?
hin, welche Taste? Und
Which
es ist
key?
unglaublich, was sich da
It's
abspielt
incredible
und
what
was
happens in
einfach
fractions of a second.
Das ist extrem gut für
That's
das
extremely
Gehirn,
good for the brain
fit
to
zu
stay
bleiben.
fit.
So it's not just listening to music.
Spielen. Ja,
Playing.
Musik hören hat nicht den
Listening to
gleichen
music
Effekt.
does not have the
Nein,
same
spielen.
effect. No, playing.
I was thinking of the frequencies that we hear through music.
Only by listening.
Aber das ist nicht
I also
allein
like to
genug.
listen to music,
Und man
but
kann
that's
ein
not enough.
Instrument lernen in jedem
You can
Alter.
learn an instrument
Ich
at
habe
any
einen
age.
Freund gehabt, der hat mit
I had a friend who learned the saxophone
65
when he
hat
was
er
65.
gelernt.
He did not
Der
become a
wurde
world
kein
champion.
Weltmeister, ist ja logisch,
That's
aber
logical, but it helped
es
him.
hat ihm geholfen. Ne?
He probably didn't care about becoming a world champion.
No, it's really about something that's fun.
Das Spaß macht, einfach
Just to
zu
try.
versuchen.
Does that help when I'm already affected?
Yes, only then.
Ja, dann erst recht.
We know brain cells are probably not reproducible.
Sind wahrscheinlich nicht vermehrbar.
We
auf
come
die
into the
Welt
world
mit
with 100 billion
Milliarden,
brain
ich weiß
cells.
nicht genau, Hirnzellen.
With
Und
them we
denen
have to
müssen
get
wir
along to
auskommen
death.
bis zum Tod.
But every single cell has
Jede
these arms.
einzelne Zelle hat ja diese Ärmchen, oder? Und
Synapses.
ja,
Yes,
dann
and where the
dort
arms
die
touch the
Ärmchen
neighboring
sich
cell,
berühren
that's
von
called
der
a synapse.
Nachbarzelle, das nennt man eine Synapse.
These synapses are massively
Synapsen, die sind
reproducible.
massiv vermehrbar. Und die,
It depends on
es
the
kommt auf
number.
die Anzahl an. Je
The more
mehr
synapses I
ich
form,
bilde,
the better my brain works.
besser funktioniert mein Gehirn.
I can think better and make decisions. That's what we have to practice. That's why the Adult Education Center is something very useful. I used to think, why should I learn Chinese at the age of 70?
Well, you finally have time.
It doesn't make much sense for humans, but for the brain it's absolutely great. It doesn't have to be Chinese. It can also be English.
Above all, it has the advantage that I get involved in society when I learn something. That's part of it. You also mentioned discussing, talking to each other and exchanging ideas.
Unfortunately, that's almost lost today. I'm not allowed to have any other opinion than the mainstream. Otherwise I'm a leftist, a rightist, I'm excluded. That's a shame. We have to find our way back to a good discussion. I don't have any problems if my next person has a different opinion than me. But we're allowed to present our arguments. That's exciting. That's completely lost in our society. We should find it again.
I think we're taking it too personally.
Yes,
I once heard that it's a new impulse when you don't brush your teeth with your right hand, but with your left hand. Or when you do things in a different way than you're used to.
for example, you can go out into the forest and then go backwards. Just that. Or sideways. Just doing movements that you normally don't do challenges the brain. It creates synapses. You're right. You're right to do simple things in a different way.
These are things we can do without having to invest anything. Nowadays, it's all about our wallet. Nobody can talk themselves out of it. These are things we can all do. Of course, there are also more valuable things that we can't do because we don't get them through nutrition. If we don't get them through nutrition, we're back to supplement.
Yes, there are a lot of them. There are other diseases where I can say these 3 micronutrients are important. In dementia, the palette is so big.
The damage is probably bigger.
Again, very important omega-3 fatty acids. The brain needs the cell walls of the brain cells, not just the brain cells, but especially the brain cells that consist of omega-3 fatty acids. If I have this deficiency, my brain cells are weakened.
Okay.
It hurts me when some of my colleagues say this stuff is worthless and there are no studies or business. I hear such arguments from doctors. It hurts me because it's not true.
You have other experiences.
Without omega-3 fatty acids, we're dead. It's a basic substance of life, like amino acids and proteins. In Switzerland, we don't eat fish or very little. In the past, there was always fish on Fridays. Not anymore today. I know people who don't eat fish at all. Others eat it twice a year. That's where the omega-3 fatty acids are. If I don't eat fish once or twice a week, I have to replace it.
In another interview, I asked how it is for someone who is very popular or not only popular, but many people eat vegetarian or vegan. I'm one of them. I don't know when I ate fish last time. Of course, I substitute omega-3, but you said there is no real good alternative. But for the brain, yes.
Yes, for the brain, omega-3 is vegan. Otherwise, in the case of heart or other inflammatory immune systems, we need a balanced one. It needs these 2 acids EPA and DH. The brain needs a lot more DH. This is the majority of vegan omega-3 products. But it's not the only thing. The brain also needs vitamin D. Then we need inflammatory substances, i.e. secondary plant substances like OPC, incense, mushroom, green tea extract. There are so many that have an inflammatory effect. Very important for the brain is Q10. The energy molecule is ATP, adenosine triphosphate. This is the universal molecule. All people in the world produce ATP. If this production is disturbed because many micronutrients are missing, then I can give Q10 or NADH. These are the precursors. I tell the patient that we can drive around the entire colony. We drive around with the car and are the first. You have to imagine if I give these two substances, then the body can produce the energy directly. We all need this in Alzheimer's prevention. There are other substances. Phosphatidine is one. Coconut fat, for example. Incredibly good in dementia prevention. Coconut fat is called unhealthy. It is unhealthy. It only contains saturated fatty acids. Yes, it does. But this is not about the unsaturated fatty acids. This is about the middle chain fatty acids in coconut fat. The brain cell can produce energy from it.
Like food.
It is food for the brain cell. Back to the cause. Normally, the brain burns glucose. To bring glucose into the cell, insulin is needed. But the insulin that we produce in the pancreas does not go through the blood-brain barrier. Our brain would be malnourished. Glucose cannot be processed. That is why the brain produces insulin to burn the glucose. This insulin in the brain decreases over the course of life. This is a reason for becoming demented. The cells do not get the food anymore. Glucose cannot enter the cells when the insulin is missing. The middle chain fatty acids are the replacement. They flow into the cell without insulin, without enzymes. The cell immediately has fuel for energy. That is why coconut fat is a wonderful substance. Half free.
As mentioned at the beginning, the silent inflammations, which are the worst or the causes that can cause it.
Die schlimmsten Verursacher sind oder die Verursacher sind, die letztendlich sowas auch begünstigen bzw. mit auslösen können.
Do you have a secret tip on the micronutrients that you think are the best?
Entzündungshemmenden Mikronährstoffen, wo du sagst, das ist vielleicht der beste oder die silent inflammation.
There is not one substance. We need the combination of immune modulating substances. Omega-3, vitamin D, magnesium, selenium, zinc. Then there are the inflammatory substances like OPC, green tea, reishi, incense, turmeric. Turmeric is also inhibiting. I have seen improvements in dementia with turmeric. Incredibly good. These plugs in the brain go back with turmeric.
But it is not enough if I occasionally season my food with it.
No, if you are really demented, you need a capsule of turmeric for every meal. You see, there is no take this and go. I have to live balanced and healthy, and I need a palette of micronutrients to prevent dementia.
Is there a combination that you can recommend?
Only the vitality shot, where vitamins, minerals, inflammatory inhibitors are included. With dementia, and this is the problem in practice, these people need 7 to 8 products, and if someone does not manage it and prepares it or makes sure that they take it, then it is difficult. But we are not talking about the treatment of severe patients. They are usually already at home. It is about taking these things preventive. If you notice, and this is the exciting thing, people notice, hey, I let it go, my brain is slacking, I forget a lot. People notice that this is the most difficult phase. There, these products help very well.
Okay. Sometimes it happens to me that I notice that I have forgotten this or that. I just had the thought and I am a moment later and then it is gone. And then, Is that also part of it?
Gehört das auch schon dazu oder
No,
gehört das auch
no.
zum Stress?
That's normal.
Ne, ist
That's
normal,
normal,
okay.
okay.
Ich beruhige
Even if
mich.
I have not seen someone for 3 years and meet them on the street, I don't know what their name is. That's completely normal.
Okay, alles klar.
Okay, all right.
Danke. Nimmt mir etwas die Sorge.
But what I understood and what I always understand about you is that it is fundamentally relevant that we just support our physical body with micronutrients.
Einfach unseren physischen Körper entsprechend unterstützen mit Mikronährstoffen. Und zwar
Even if we
auch,
think and feel
wenn wir
actually
völlig
completely healthy and completely
sind,
okay.
weil, oder fühlen,
Because these
weil die
micronutrients are just permanent and long term, if these defects
dauerhaft und
exist, because the
langfristig, wenn diese
processes are
Mängel
gradual.
bestehen, sowas eben schleichend entstehen oder sowas, eine Erkrankung dadurch schleichend
That's
entsteht,
why I do my
tun wir
best
gut
to
daran,
start here and now to
schon
support the
jetzt
whole thing.
am besten damit zu beginnen, das Ganze zu unterstützen.
Yes, especially if you are over 40. As I said, it takes 30 years. So if you want to be healthy at 70, you have to start at least at 40 to eat well and to replace micronutrients if they are not in the food.
So I personally am always overwhelmed with what could be such a good basic supply. That's why I tend to the idea to get an individual examination to determine the status quo.
Grundsätzlich ganz individuell untersuchen zu lassen, den Status mal festzustellen. Das
Do you
macht
do
ihr
that
in
in your
eurem
center?
Zentrum?
Yes, we do. You can measure a lot. You can measure all micronutrients. These are not health insurance approved measurements. You have to pay for it yourself. But you can measure basically everything. Although I can usually guess where the defects are, and I don't have to incur high costs for every patient.
That's nice.
I really make sure that people are not overloaded. But yes, we have to do the necessary examinations.
Unfortunately, this is the criticism that you probably often confront yourself with. Like, I just have to put a lot of money on the table and so on.
Yes, it's both. I have a heart for the patients. It's really important to me that they don't have unnecessary costs. I know there are many colleagues who pull the money out of people. You can explain everything. I can tell every patient that they are very important and I can't treat them without that. People pay then. Logical. But that's not clean for me. I can't work like that. I want to do honest medicine and only offer the necessary to the patient what he has to pay himself. There are so many ways without expensive costs.
Yes. Where can I find you and your team if I want to visit your care or your examination?
We are a medical center in the city of Winterthur. We have a second station in Brugg. And we are at both places several doctors and other therapists so that we can cover almost every medical topic. So under the name Wise Medicine, you can find us on the internet and everything else is there.
Nice. I would like to mention that you are a team that looks at the patient very individually and very holistically. The different factors that take place in the life of a patient and how they relate to the state of the patient.
Absolutely. The patient is a holistic being. We consist of body, soul, and spirit. In medicine, it is often said that we are holistic. But maybe next to the body, a little bit of soul is built in. But the spiritual aspects do not play a role in medicine. Normally. But with us, they do.
Yes, probably for reasons of time.
Only in this way can I really help someone if I relate all aspects.
Yes, because everything else is just a symptom treatment. But not really to get to the cause. About the micronutrients we talked about, I would like to mention that it is always a question of quality and that you get to the right reference source.
dass man eben an die richtige Bezugsquelle kommt.
With whom do you work together? Where do you relate?
Ja.
Most of them I get from the company King Nature. That is my main supplier. Where it is possible. What I mentioned is that I get it from the company King Nature. But no company has everything. I have to switch to other companies for individual products. And every now and then I need a medication. But that is good to know. A contact person. Someone who has followed our conversation and says, I want to do something for myself. I don't want to let my individual status be determined right away. But I just want to substitute. I have my own website. It is called vitalstierfmedicine.ch and I have many articles on it. Everything is explained. About diseases. It explains how vitamin D works, how omega-3 works. You can download everything for free.
Great.
I also have a YouTube channel called NaturalMEDICINE. There are over 100 short videos on it where I explain many of these substances. Why and how they work.
Great. We are well supported as viewers when we want to talk about dementia and Alzheimer. Thank you very much for your open words and for your mission, for your integrity, especially for your orientation. Where someone is standing, what can he do? And you still provide your best possible support, as it is possible in this context. Thank you very much. I hope there will be more.
I hope so. I hope there are other colleagues that work honestly.
Everyone's different. I hope many people will be affected by your philosophy, and also open to the topic of micronutrients and the importance of it in our health. You say that it is a flaw that little is said about it. Or the importance is turned under the table.
But it is growing.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Heinz. I look forward to the next talks. Thank you for being with us. I hope you received some information that is valuable for you. And you gained an awareness that you can also prevent a dementia or Alzheimer's disease. A disease that is like a horror ghost, like a sword of Damocles that often soars over our society. We have also noticed that the trend is unfortunately increasing. And that's why it is so important that each of us does something for it. So stay healthy in this sense. Take care of yourself. And yes, investing money, as they say, in youth you follow health and money, and in old age you follow health and money. So that it doesn't happen. I hope you stay healthy for a long time. Or we wish you that. And in this sense, we look forward to seeing you again next time. See you then. Goodbye.